Without structure, like knowing how to approach communication, using a method that actually works to create that emotional safety and allow you to resolve conflict together, you're going to have conversations that seem like it goes around and around and around. Without ownership, people are going to get defensive. And without collaboration, there's going to be no resolution. So it's not so much that you guys need to talk more, because talking isn't the solution. It's having a productive conversation. That's what's needed. And that's what's missing if you keep experiencing repetitive arguments.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm Michelle Perda, mom of three, wife, marriage coach, and host of this show. I help couples move from reactive patterns to intentional partnership using my connected partnership framework so you can feel more connected, supported, and get back to feeling like an us again, all while raising kids. If you've ever felt like you and your partner keep having the same arguments on repeat, or like you've slowly become more like roommates than partners, you're not alone, and your marriage is not broken. The truth is, most couples were never taught how to navigate conflict, communicate effectively, or build a strong partnership. And that's exactly what we do here. Now let's dive in.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. We are going to be tackling part 4 of a mini series that I started back in episode 288. So if you haven't checked out any of the episodes prior to this episode, go check those out. This mini series is why you keep having the same arguments and how to actually break the pattern in your marriage. In this episode, we're going to be talking about why talking things out hasn't been working for you and why your current approach isn't creating the change that you're wanting. Now, if talking about it actually worked for you, you wouldn't still be having the same argument over and over and over again. Maybe it's a different trigger each time, but you still end up in an argument and it still doesn't work out. No problems are resolved. You don't feel any closer. And so if you found yourself thinking or even saying out loud, we've already talked about this, or we communicate, but nothing changes, or it always just turns into another argument, then this episode is for you. Now, here's what I want to share about what's actually happening. Most couples aren't lacking communication. They're lacking structure and emotional safety inside the conversation. Now, when you don't have structure, you're kind of just willy-nilly flying by the seat of your pants. And you're likely reacting to whatever your partner is saying to you. So depending on how they're talking to you, what they're saying, their body language, you're going to have some type of response to that. And depending on how you respond to them, that dictates the level of emotional safety within the conversation. So if you tend to be really reactive and you get defensive, or you start criticizing or rolling your eyes, that throws emotional safety out the window. Your partner will no longer feel safe to continue sharing because it's just going to escalate the conversation. And this is how you end up going into a conversation with a topic in mind and ending up talking about something completely different, wondering, how do we get to talking about this? And why are we arguing so much right now when we came here with the best of intentions to work through this together? And now we're doing the same thing that we always do, which is have our conversations spiral out of control and end up in a full-blown argument. So I'm going to share with you why this happens. So without regulation, and when I say regulation, I mean nervous system regulation. So without regulation, you're going to have a reactive tone. Without structure, like knowing how to approach communication, using a method that actually works to create that emotional safety and allow you to resolve conflict together, you're going to have conversations that seem like it goes around and around and around. Without ownership, people are going to get defensive. And without collaboration, there's going to be no resolution. So it's not so much that you guys need to talk more, because talking isn't the solution. It's having a productive conversation. That's what's needed. And that's what's missing. If you keep experiencing repetitive arguments and feel like you guys can't talk things out without things blowing up or without walking away feeling more disconnected and leave with no path forward together as a team, and leave the conversation not feeling like you even got anywhere with each other except for more hurt. So I'm going to give an example of a client. Client tells me, oh, we talk all the time, but there's interrupting, there's defensiveness, there's a lot of repetition going on. And this is the pattern that they created together. One partner would bring something up and share and be vulnerable and talk about wanting change, and they get interrupted because their partner is reacting to what they're hearing and really wanting to come in and defend themselves or explain themselves. And that causes the initiator to defend themselves, right? To reassert, like, hey, I'm the one saying I'm hurt. So why is this now about you? I'm going to come back in and show you all the ways that you messed up. And then they would go tit for tat. They would bounce off of each other, reacting to whatever their reaction was. But then once they learned the structure of what makes up healthy communication, like my peace method, that's when they were able to start slowing things down. That's when they were able to identify the pattern of their communication style, make tweaks, and actually get to the point where they could resolve their issues together, where they could come out feeling stronger as a couple and feeling like a team. This is why inside my method, I don't just teach you to talk more. In fact, you likely are talking more than you need to. I teach you how to have conversations that actually move things forward. So before you have a conversation, I want you to ask yourself, what do I actually want from this conversation? Having a focus anchor you is going to help keep you on track. The trouble is that when we don't have a goal in mind, when we don't have a purpose or an intention going into the conversation, that's how we can easily get derailed and start reacting to what our partner is saying instead of bringing it back to the original intent of the conversation. And then you get that back and forth, right? But you're not here for this back and forth. In fact, you're likely sick of it and you want it to go away. So I want you to keep this question in mind. What do I actually want from this conversation? And continue to remind yourself as soon as you notice the conversation starting to take a turn, bring it back to this awareness of what is my intention for this conversation, and is where we're at and what I'm doing and how I'm showing up in this conversation actually delivering that. And if not, then make a shift, pivot, okay? And that's where my conflict to connection guide could be really helpful, because if you take the time to process what's happening, then you can go into the conversation that much more prepared and grounded, and notice when you are veering off track and bring it back to the original intent, which is to problem solve, right? To share what's going on, work together, and come out of the other side of the conversation with a resolution and with more connection. Okay. So if you haven't already, grab the conflict to connection guide. It is a very quick, practical way for you to start training your brain on questions that you can ask yourself to have more productive conversations. And remember, more productive conversations equals more connection, more resolution. Okay. So go grab my guide in the link in the show notes and let me know how it goes. Okay. Of course, if you are wanting more personalized support, walking you through these steps, walking you through identifying your patterns and replacing it with a healthier one, then I invite you to book a clarity call with me. Let's talk. Let's figure out what your marriage is needing and talk about how marriage coaching can help you. And that's it for this episode. I hope that you will try starting to ask yourself, what you actually want out of the conversation so that you can start to have more grounded, connected conversations in your marriage. Now, if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. Better yet, share this episode in your Instagram stories and tag me so I could say hi. And if you love this show, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to have you here. Please consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's what helps the show grow and helps more people like you get the help they need. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
If you're listening to this and you're starting to see your own patterns a little more clearly, that's exactly where change begins. And you don't have to figure out the rest on your own. I got you. If you want help taking what you're noticing and actually shifting it in your relationship, check out the show notes for next steps to help things move forward in your marriage, whether that's a guide, a masterclass, or booking a clarity call if you're ready for support. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you there.